Hey guys, welcome to Raja Makes Money. How are all my money makers doing today? And what a great show we have for you today. We got the Click daughter back. Natalie's back to join us today and take your guys' questions. And we're going to discuss a couple of different things. But let's get right into it. Market was pretty flat overall today. NASDAQ down a little bit, but S&P 500 new highs. And I am very heavily leveraged in CCIV. I did catch one dip today, did okay. But unfortunately, towards the end of the day, CCIV came crashing down. So just like it went spiraling up yesterday, today it came down, and this is where we ended, down 211,000. So the $222,000 gain yesterday, we've given back everything but 11,000 of it. But I feel very confident that CCIV is going to have a nice bounce back. It's looking really good here and stuff, but well, it's not really looking really good, but like I said, I feel I'll have a nice bounce back. After hours, it's already up. It was as high as about 45 cents. It's up 17 cents. The interesting thing is I have 3,200 contracts out, so 320,000 shares of stock for every, if CCIV tomorrow goes up $1, my account will be up 300 grand. If CCIV goes up tomorrow 50 cents, I'm going to be up 150 grand. So a lot at stake. Ericsson today had a good day. Our calls are in the money now, making some money. They keep improving. Unfortunately, Jaguar was down 10 cents today. After hours, it's up a little bit. CTYX up a little bit today. This one had a great one. The Verdi Bio Holdings, unfortunately, we are not in that one any longer on this side. But Kenny and the research team is still in it, and they had a winning day. And IDX today was down a little bit, but hopefully it comes back, but that's okay. Our hedge on the calls we sold against it to make some money back, that was up today. So unfortunately, a losing day today, but hopefully tomorrow will be much better. Trades I made today, about 400 contracts at CCIV at $1. I was trying to play the dips. Then I put an order in to sell those, to buy them back to close at at 70 cents, but it never came back down. Earlier in the day, I did catch the puts to open on 400 contracts at $1.50, bought those back at $1.30, made $8,000. Unfortunately, later in the day, I did it again, and then it got away from us, and that's when it really went down. So nothing there to close up. But like I said, we have a great position going in tomorrow. Just to recap, Kenny and the research team, how they did today. They were up $527. They were up much higher earlier in the day, but everything's looking really, really good. They're expecting a big bounce. A lot of stuff did really well today for him, and some stuff tomorrow he's expecting. So the research team tomorrow is expecting a big day, but just to recap, lots of stuff. They also sold and closed a lot of positions today, as you can see here. Lots of stuff still open than all these things that they closed out today. So they've got about $45,000 in play of the 100,000. So they still have lots of buying power and lots of stuff, but hopefully they'll have a big day again tomorrow. Another up day for them, and looking good and stuff. But lots of stuff going on. But we won't waste any time. Oh, and the other thing, Bitcoin today down a couple of $1,000, starting to drop. Not sure why, but we'll have to keep an eye on that. And like I said, tomorrow, let's hope for a big day on CCIV. But we won't waste any more time because we've got Natalie here, the Click Father's daughter. So welcome, Natalie, and welcome back. Natalie was on our show a month ago or so, and we discussed, well, the big topic we discussed at that time, I think, was the electric vehicles, was Tesla, CCIV, NEO, and I think there was one other one you were playing.
Like ChargePoint, different charging stations, yeah.
Yeah. So how are you doing in all your positions, and or where are you with your positions right now?
Yeah. So I think, well, first, thank you again for having me. I'm really excited to be back. With Tesla, which I'm sure a lot of people are very curious about. That one I am holding on to. I plan to hold that long term. And so even though, it's hit some dips in the road, quite a few, it's not one that I plan on selling. It's not one that I look to get rid of anytime in the near future. I still really believe in the company, and I still see a lot of potential growth for it. So yeah, Tesla, 670. So I'm still ahead of my, of what I've invested. So, when it did touch a little bit below 600, I was getting a little bit nervous, but what goes up must come down. So I don't think that there's anything to worry about, and what goes down must come up. So all will be good on that front. And then with CCIV, go ahead.
Question with Tesla, how do you feel about them making such a big investment into Bitcoin?
I think they're trying to be a trendsetter, honestly, and I think we've learned from the price that Bitcoin is at right now that it has some true potential. And even just looking at it a year ago, the price that it was at, it's more than double that. It didn't even hit 20K last year or even in the past 3 years. So the fact that it's done that and then it's exceeded 50K, it really shows some substantiation for it being around for a while. So I think that Tesla and Elon is actually really intelligent for doing that. And I think it's something that people are a little bit wary about at first because it's not the norm. But, Tesla wasn't the norm to begin with. And now look, we have all these other vehicles coming out. So I think it's great. I think it's something that other companies will soon start to adopt. Maybe not within this year, but the next 2-3 years from now.
Yeah, no, definitely. What now? If Bitcoin was to drop, do you think that's going to affect Tesla's earnings and profitability?
I think that's a valid concern, but I do think that they are also independent of each other, and so Tesla isn't heavily reliant on Bitcoin. There are other factors that drive its price and its earnings. Thanks, Sanders. So I think that it's not going to be too much of a factor in it.
What one analyst said I think they thought Tesla could go down to like $150. Now I predicted when Tesla was about 800. I said this thing's going to touch 500, and it did come down to 500. It bounced off the 500s pretty quickly back to 7, and it seems to be around here. And they did come out with some great earnings and great numbers on their cars and amount of cars being sold. But I still fear if Bitcoin was to drop heavily, obviously when they announced they were buying Bitcoin and when they did buy Bitcoin, it's way up because I think when they announced it, it was around 43,000. So Bitcoin is definitely above, but it's going to be interesting because if they are holding it and they're not hedging it or doing anything with it, they could make more money off of their Bitcoin holding in profit. But if you don't sell it, you really haven't made a profit. And at the same token, if Bitcoin came back down to $20,000, they could get destroyed and lose 3 years worth of profits. If 1.5 billion of Bitcoin went down to 20 grand, they'd be lost 750 million. That's more than they've made in 3 years. So it seems like it seems like you said, to be a trendsetter is terrific, but it just seems like a big risk to shareholders.
Yeah, no, I get that. I do think, though, there is one thing that is on our side, and that's just the general way that the Bitcoin market has moved over the past few years. And even though it's kind of gone away from that this year, usually January, December is when the most Bitcoin action happens. So that's when you'll see like the price either spike up or drop down. And usually throughout the year is when it remains stable. So I think it's kind of hit that point too now where it's going to remain stable for the next few months. Then again, I don't know because it is kind of a trend right now. And so there is a lot more people who are interested in it and trading it. But I wouldn't be too concerned about Tesla. I don't think it would hit the 150 range.
No.
I think even just like from a technical analysis perspective, it had hit like this 0.618 Fibonacci. So just showing that it hit that perfectly and then bounced back up shows that there's not too much concern to be worried about with it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I said, will Tesla one day be above $1,000 a share? Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely couldn't argue that one.
Right.
Will Bitcoin one day be above $100,000 a Bitcoin? Yes. Will that be next week? No. Does it have could Bitcoin be $20,000 in the near future again? Yes. Could Tesla go back to 500? Yeah. But yeah, I think long term it'll go up. But it definitely, it's
Yep.
interesting that as all these companies are getting into this, and I was watching another company on CNBC today with the Van Winkles, Melvin or whatever. I can't think of someone with an M. Their company. But they were talking about how like they're going to be as a landlord, they're going to collect rent now, but they were planning on hedging it or not. They were planning on
Hmm.
selling it pretty much into the marketplace just because. And one of the questions they said is if somebody pays rent of $1,000 today and you wake an hour later, it's Bitcoin drops and now that 1,000 is 800. It's definitely. I think it's definitely very risky for a lot of these
Hmm.
companies, and especially for their shareholders. But like I said, if when Bitcoin's going up and when everything's going up, everybody's happy. There's no problems. It's when stuff comes down. And did you see like the other day with that whole collapse with the hedge funds and that with the Viacom and stuff like that? And some of these places are just so heavily leveraged that just a minor little thing. Well, like I said, the interesting thing with the market is while somebody's making money on it going up, somebody's also losing money on it going
Hmm.
up. And when it's going down, somebody's making money on it going down, and somebody's losing money on it going down. It's just being on the right play at the right time for that individual investor. But what do you think? Also, with everybody getting COVID shots,
Yeah.
vaccinations are rolling out. Travel. What do you think about travel? And are you been watching that?
Yeah, so I think that because people are getting their vaccines and people are getting excited now about plans for reopening, I think that travel is really finally showing its rebound in the market. Alaska, as you pulled up, is one of the ones that I had played back in the beginning of the pandemic. And so I knew airlines were going to be one of those ones that were just going to tank. But at the end of the day, we all rely on flights, we all rely on airlines. And so this is a stock that, it's going to go back up to what it was at before. Same with Southwest. So when I was initially looking at which ones to invest in terms of airlines, I had kind of looked at the spread between how much the stock had gone down and how much it was at the beginning of COVID. And so just kind of targeting, okay, what could be my percentage gains there? And then picking based on that, which ones I wanted to invest in. And then I also picked those two, Alaska and Southwest, because those are my personal two favorite airlines. I just think that, Southwest, the ticker LOVE, I love that. So I love investing in companies that I also believe in. I always enjoy flying those two airlines. So when I buy a stock, I'm buying a piece of the company in my eyes too. So I'm going to buy ones that I actually enjoy flying, unlike American Airlines, which I would never consider buying. But yeah, I think that those two have definitely shown a lot of potential. There's even been analysts who have upped their ratings on Alaska Airlines from holds to buys. I think that these ones are evening out to their pre-COVID levels, if not more. I know Alaska's up 150% from when I initially bought it. But as there is so much pent-up travel demand, people are going to start buying flights, and then the earnings are going to grow and people are going to get really excited about it. So I
Yeah.
think airlines are definitely something to take a look at.
But so one thing, I mean, obviously I agree the reopening trades and obviously people is traveling and, I can, testify to that, the last time I was at the airport, I would have thought it was, 2000,
Right.
it was February 2020 again. It looks like normal, but
Yeah.
my question is, and one thing, while they are going to start seeing revenue boost and, obviously bringing people back, but they had to borrow a lot of money and take on a lot of
Hmm.
debt that they have to repay back. These weren't. I mean, I know the airlines did receive some PP&E or in those stimulus, not PP&E, I guess stimulus money, some stuff, but they also had to employ a bunch of people they didn't need. They had to blow a lot of that money. No
Right.
matter what, at the end of the day, I think all these airlines have lost a lot of money. How do you, when you look at earnings, while they may say, business is 100% back to normal, but we have $1 billion in new debt even at 0% interest rate over 20 years, that's a big liability. that they never had to have, that's going to play into earnings, obviously making payments.
For sure. And I definitely think that's something to consider. But I do think that because of the pent up travel demand, that there's going to be an increase in people just traveling in general. And so, even people who may not have been traveling before might just be like, okay, I just need to get out, whatever it is. Like, I'm booking a vacation, I'm going. So I think that will cover and it'll balance out. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but it will within the next 2-3 years, I think. But I think that is definitely something to take into consideration, is that debt that they had to take on. But then again, there are plenty of other companies that had taken on a lot of debt because of COVID. So they're not the only ones who would have that taken into play.
Yeah. No, but it does. Well, like some of these hedge funds with this whole collapse this weekend,
Mm-hmm.
Credit, or Swiss Credit or Credit Suisse, whatever it is. They said they lost $4 billion. It's gonna be a $1 billion charge this quarter. I mean, and obviously that's from the short sales and the margin call. But still, these companies, if you have a company that was, goes back to being profitability, but you have this, $10 million a month, payment that you're adding into your,
Mm-hmm.
cost, it definitely is going to add up and stuff. So it'll definitely be interesting. That's for sure.
For sure.
Also, travel is going to be big. What do you think about the cruise lines like Norwegian, Carnival, some of those with reopening trades?
Yeah, so Norwegian and Carnival have actually announced plans to resume travel. So there was definitely a spike after they announced that, and also the fact that the CDC, I forgot to mention this even for airlines, the CDC on Friday had announced that they released travel guidelines for those who are already vaccinated. So with that kind of approval from the CDC, I think people are feeling more confident in the travel sector in general. So I think that that's something that will bolster all of these travel stocks across the board. And then with cruises, I do think long term, I think it is an outdated industry. However, they are probably one of the only sectors of the travel industry who haven't reached their pre-COVID levels, or haven't or aren't close to reaching those pre-COVID levels yet. So I think that there's still room for growth in the short term for cruise lines, if that was something that you were looking to play, especially that now they've announced their travel plans. But I wouldn't hold these long term. I am not one to take a cruise. And I think that other forms of travel have a much higher or a longer term of sticking around.
Yeah, definitely. Are you playing any cruise lines right now, or?
Not at the moment. It is something that I will look into probably after it, but to be honest, I had kind of forgotten about them in the past day or two, because I just forget that they exist, because cruise lines are not my form of travel. But I think that considering they still haven't reached those pre-COVID levels yet, that there is short-term room for growth.
Awesome. And also earlier, thank you, Sanders Slots, for the super chat, and also Kevin, the Click Daughters, Click Father, for the super chat. Thank you. So we're talking about obviously travel, airlines, and cruises.
Mm-hmm.
People need on the way to those. If you're going somewhere, are taking trips, you need somewhere to stay. So
Yeah.
how do you think hotels are going to bounce back? I think some conventions are going to start coming back later in the year. Probably not on the same scale as before. But also another big one, Airbnb.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been watching that one, or do you
Yes.
think people feel safer at an Airbnb? Do they feel safer at a hotel? One thing I think that'll be interesting with hotels coming back, and obviously more people traveling. Are they going to go back to cleaning your room every day? I
It's
was
a
used
good
to having my
point.
room cleaned every day. I think they're saving a tremendous amount of money now, because if the average person stays in a hotel, let's say 3 days, they've cut down their cleaning costs by 2/3. You talk about some huge labor savings. and they haven't cut down the cost. Obviously, like in Vegas or some places, they're probably
Hmm.
giving you rooms cheaper. But if all of a sudden you have 100% occupancy and your rooms go back to $399 a night, are you going to resume maid service 7 days, every day of the week, or are you just going to leave it where only once, only when you check out, they clean the room, or only upon request? But that's going to be actually a really big savings help for a lot of these hotel chains and stuff.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that one. I think that they've already, in the past before COVID, leaned towards that, with just, even having your sheets changed or your towels washed just for environmental reasons. So now they have even more of a reason with COVID, to cut back on those cleaning costs. So I actually think that that would stick around. But there also could be the argument for increased cleansing because it's post-COVID. Who knows? Um, but with Airbnb, I do think that this one is really interesting because it's part of travel, but it's also part of the sharing economy, which I still think has a lot of room for growth. And I think each year people grow more and more confidence in the sharing economy, where, about a few years back, people wouldn't necessarily have as much confidence in something like this or in Uber. Now, you're calling an Uber for your grandmother and saying, hey, get in, it's fine, you'll be safe. So there's a lot more confidence in that and in the industry in general. So I think that's what makes Airbnb really interesting, including the fact that they've grown over 40% each year over the past 3 years. So I think this stock, it IPO'd back in December, so it's still relatively fresh. So I do think that it could be a little overvalued at the moment, which is why I would put it more on a watch list. But then again, travel's taking off, so who really knows? But I think just the fact that it's grown, from the initial IP of like 68, I think it is, and now it's at nearly 200. It's quite a quick turnaround for just being on the market for 3 months. So I think there might be some correction potentially up ahead, but I think long-term Airbnb is something that will be at least 500 or more for sure.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a growing business and stuff. Even
Yeah.
I know there is some just like Uber experience with this kind of stuff. There's some cities trying to ban it or hotels, trying to
Hmm.
stop it and different stuff. It'll definitely be very interesting. Question: the
Yeah.
research team, Kenny and the
Yep.
research team have a question for you. What do you think of Lululemon?
Lululemon. I'm wearing their pants right now. How'd they know?
Well, you're a millennial.
Yeah. I mean, I love Lululemon. I think I don't necessarily know about the stock. I haven't looked at the stock. But I think just in general, Lululemon is a high quality product. It's my favorite legging. So, that's all I can really say about it. It's just a great product all around.
Yeah.
And I wear it probably 5 days out of 7 in the week. So
They've done good with between the everybody exercising more, the reopening
yep.
trade, the exercise trade. So
Well, and I
they've been
think it
a
comes
good
down
stock.
to them. They make a good product, and
Yeah,
I think that's what you can't really compete with at the end of the day.
yeah, definitely.
Yep.
So another one that I played and we've played for a while and stuff, and been all over the news. GameStop. What do you think of that one?
I have not been following GameStop too much, to be honest, just because, I think it's highly volatile, and it's just it's one really based around hype, and you never really know where it's going to go. So I just don't touch that. I think that it can be very risky, and I'm not necessarily willing to take that sort of risk. Um, so, and again, I think GameStop in general, very outdated. So I wouldn't invest in it just from like my own investing perspective.
Yeah, no, definitely. So we'll start taking some questions from the people watching and stuff. One of the questions they've asked is, do you own any
Yep.
cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, I do. I own, I can't even list some of the names, but I have Bitcoin, I have Litecoin, I have Stellar, and I have some random ones. I don't know the names of them off the top of my head, but those were kind of like, I bought them 3 years ago and they were just set it and forget it sort of things, and just kind of see where the crypto market takes us. I think, 20 years from now, it's going to be continue to get bigger and bigger. So I'm just kind of letting those grow, like interest in a bank, and just seeing what happens to it. It was more so a game for me and just kind of fun. So I'm not taking it too seriously.
All right. Renslot says, Natalie, do you play
Mm-hmm.
any social media stocks? I'm pretty heavy in Pinterest on good bought in last year. And I think today Facebook was at another new high.
Mm-hmm.
Snap, they said spending. Like I said, I think Facebook's a great company. I mean, I know they're gonna make a lot of money. I think that I don't think they have opportunity to keep. I definitely think they're going to have a pullback. It's also interesting, in the last couple of days, or the last few trading days, even with the markets down, up, or flat, is that Apple's been sneaking back up, coming back,
Mm-hmm.
and like I said, I think Apple, was going to come back. I was looking at playing some Apple again, and I almost did, but I didn't yet. But I did a couple of weeks ago, and we made some money with it. But Apple's been sneaking up. But yeah, what do you think about the
Social
social
media.
media stocks?
Yeah, so this has been the primary focus of my past week actually has been social media stocks. So I was looking at different Facebook options, playing different calls and puts. I've noticed that there's been a lot of channels happening on the stock itself. So I've kind of just been buying calls, selling puts, and have had a few successes. I have some positions right now, and we'll see how that plays out. One of them being last week I had a call for 300, so that ended up surpassing it, but I had sold it Thursday because I thought, with the holiday and the contract expired this Friday, so I figured, okay, maybe with theta decay and everything, it just wasn't something that I wanted to keep going into next week. And the week before it was all at a loss, so that Thursday when I woke up, I was like, all right, well, we're just going to sell this one at a profit. And it was good. And Twitter also, Twitter broke out of a flag. So that one has been, I think that one is at 70, I want to say, Twitter. So that one's also going up. And I just think it's really interesting in general how Facebook stock was not impacted at all by the release of the data breach. So you would think hearing, 1 in 5 users may have had their data released, that would pose some concern. But it's interesting how, people don't really take that into effect, that sort of news into the
Yeah.
actual valuation of the stock.
I think a lot of people too just figure, unless there's a lawsuit or they're going to be sued or pay
Mm-hmm.
billions of dollars out. I think people now, one is, I think everybody's life is pretty much public. I mean, unless you
Yeah.
don't have social media and you don't ever sign up to do anything in your life and live like a hermit, I think everybody knows your information. I would go on the line and probably say the IRS has been hacked. So I'm sure they have everyone's information. I mean, every credit card company's been hacked. The biggest companies in the world have all been hacked. I think everybody knows our social security numbers, our phone. So unless there's a fine, which usually it's the EU seems to be, going after these companies and
Mm-hmm.
giving fines. Otherwise, yeah, it definitely seems like. Definitely, everybody has the info. Woofs, and also big shout out to one of our YouTube sponsors, and anybody can be a YouTube sponsor and stand out in the chat, like Woofs73 says, Natalie, what happened to Canoe? I did good with it for a while, then it dropped so much. Any input on it?
Well, I think we kind of saw that just the EV market in general kind of dropped a bit. And so I think it's kind of just riding the wave with that. And so I think, again, long term, this is something that is nothing to be worried about. But I think short term, there has been a little bit of a correction with some of those EV stocks. So I'm happy to hear that you did some good with it. So that's good.
And always remember, Kenny and the research team, they love dips. So Woofs, GOEV, they like a lot. Take advantage of this dip. So, question from John. I have a question for you. So this is it's asking me, but I actually want to get your input. It says, Raja, what would you class as an acceptable percent return on investment per week? Also, I just want to add, I know we've seen some comments on the audio. So this is our first time having a guest on the on the show. So we do have to, we'll make some adjustments. There's not much I can do right now, but hopefully you can hear me. If you can hear me, just hold your ear closer to the microphone. Maybe you can hear me better. But so yeah, so for me, an acceptable, I try and make like, 2-3% a week, but it's a little bit more aggressive. I want to double my money every year. But I mean, if you make more than 1% a year, it's better than having your money in the bank. So, but yeah, my goal usually is about 2% a week on. But it also gets harder. It's a lot easier to make 5% on $1,000 than it is to make 5% on $100 million, and that's why like some of these hedge funds that have crashed and had all these issues, they are so heavily leveraged, because they have to be to turn those kind of profits or make 15-20% a year. I mean, I think the top hedge funds, if they're lucky, make 20% a year. So for us to already take 5 million and make 20% on it, I mean, we've been up as much as 40% or 35%. We've been down below where we started. So for us to be in the green, ahead, and almost 20% up, and hopefully by the end of this week maybe we'll be up 25%. I think has done tremendous. Especially if you compare us to like ARK and some of those big ones. But yeah, what is your goal a week?
I don't necessarily have like a per week goal, but I do think that what you said, the 2 to 3%, is a very reasonable goal, and that is still something that is better than just having your money in the bank. So I think it's kind of just very, it's kind of dependent upon your personal goals, whether you like the safety and security of having a 2 to 3% return and being okay with that, or if you would rather see an acceptable return as 8 to 10%, and then you realize like, okay, then I'm going to be playing a little bit riskier. So it's really just dependent upon the level of risk you're wanting to take as well. That would make it an acceptable return on investment.
Great. Tracy D, $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Tracy. Thanks, Raja, for having Natalie as a guest. Really enjoyed hearing her thoughts. Thanks, Natalie.
Thanks, Tracy.
So, JILJ says, Poshmark getting hurt since IPO. Wondering if you think it will go to $20 or $60 first.
So I know that there has been, Poshmark in general is not a platform that I've personally engaged with a lot. I know it is an e-commerce platform, e-commerce.
It's for used clothing, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I used it maybe once when I was a teenager, honestly, and I did not find the platform quite usable. So that's why it's not something that I would ever see as like being a substantial player in the e-commerce market, versus something like, I know there's other ones like ThreadUp, for example, that is like reselling your used clothes. And that one, the actual process is a lot more user friendly. And so I think just with Poshmark, you have to like create your own store kind of selling used clothes. So it is a little bit of like a thrifting market, but that is a very niche market. And so I think if you are that niche, you're not going to really go like the stock isn't going to go that high.
Makes sense. All right. Conservative player Natalie, do you have a favorite clean energy stock?
That is a good question. I do not have a favorite. I know that there are some ETFs that are really good, that I've looked into, but I do think clean energy is something that is a great investment regardless. I think even just with the Biden administration making that goal, and that just being a kind of worldwide goal, for just moving forward and kind of just saving our planet in general. So I'm very pro clean energy. And again, I invest in what I believe in. So I think that you should definitely invest in clean energy if you are looking into that. But yeah, there are definitely a few ETFs that have that, that you can look into that, and so you can invest in a few different ones.
Awesome. So besides some of the stocks we've talked about, any other stocks in your portfolio that of interest that we haven't talked about, or different sectors, or something that you're looking at for the future?
Yeah, I think so. There is also like Dufry, which is a retail chain in airports, and I think as international travel hasn't fully opened back up yet, that this one could be on the rise when there is greater international travel. So like the Alaska and Southwest stocks that were primarily domestic-based airlines, that's why the U.S. news is also really specific for those. But with something like Dufry, it's going to be also relying upon international travel, which hasn't come about quite yet. And so those are the stores that are the duty-free stores. They also own Hudson News, which I'm sure you've seen if you go to the airport. So there's been a lot of talk around that one, and that is a relatively inexpensive stock. So I think that's something that if you're not willing to invest a lot into the travel industry, but you kind of just want to see where that goes, Dufry would be a really good one with a lot of room for growth.
Great. Margaret says, Natalie, do you invest in any marijuana stocks? What's your opinion on those?
I don't invest in that at the minute. My opinion is very laissez-faire. If you want it, I don't see the problem. But I don't invest in the stocks personally. I think long-term that, as you know, kind of like the Bitcoin with Tesla, it is kind of still very much at the beginning of people being okay with it and being acceptable with it. So I think as people grow more confidence in the industry itself and in the drug itself, then the stocks will grow as well.
All right. Sandy says Tesla, $2 super chat. Tesla, April 16th, $700 hold or sell at a loss. The calls. One, you probably are into that call for a lot of money. My guess is, we can pull it up here, but my guess is that call for a week out on Tesla, my guess is that call's got to be like $60 is what I would predict. So I'll pull it up and we can look at it. But yeah, my guess is that call has to be $60. I don't know how many of them you have or what you got into it at when you say at a loss. You could do a couple of things. You could, hedge it, and you could sell the call. You could sell the 650 call. If it goes down, you could sell the 700 call. You could sell a lower call this week and collect some of your money back and hedge it. Kind of like what I was doing with GameStop with the puts. You could do the same thing with Tesla. So if you have the call for next week, I don't know what you paid for it, but actually that seems really cheap. The call's $12 and Tesla's at 670, 30 points with it. That seems really cheap. 10 points. Yes, I was thinking it'd be a lot higher than that. So you take this. So if you have the $12 call, and you could hedge it and sell this week's. Oh wait, you'd be selling above it. So you sell this week's 700. You could pay 5, 6, 8. Sell the 690 or something for $5. But if it comes back up, I don't know. That's a good question, Sandy. I would say this, Sandy. If Tesla doesn't pick up some momentum in the next day or two, I would probably close it out and be done with it. If Tesla bounces back in the next day or two and you can get a profit out of there, I would probably look to get out. Tesla's one of these that it seems to either when it's coming down, it's going to really go down, or when it goes up, it really goes up fast. So
Yep.
definitely. But I don't know. It's just this last day or so that it had this bad bounce and stuff. So definitely doesn't. I don't think it's going to be too bad and stuff. Tanked up. Thread says for the already account holding day traders, if you don't have 25K in your account, you get flagged for more than 5 day trades in 3 business days, and that does happen. So you do have to watch your trades a little closer and stuff. Also, Tank, you mentioned a smaller account. So we do have Kenny and the research team. And I don't know if you've been following their trades, and that account has $100,000 in it. So they started trading last week. They're up $3,114, so over a 3% gain in the last 5 days. So doing terrific with the 2 to 3%. They were up at one point today, almost $1,800 or $2,000. But then they sold some stuff off and some stuff changed. They're looking for a good day tomorrow. But yeah, we do have this. And just so everyone knows, we have a Patreon group, the private Patreon group. You just go to patreon.com/Raja Makes Money. Every trade I do in my main account with the $5 million, I post in Patreon in real time. Then Kenny and the research team, we have a private Facebook group, and that is where the research team and Kenny are posting all their information and trades, and also helping to answer any of your guys' questions or anything that you guys have to throw at them. They are there for you. So, um, like I said, Patreon's a great thing. If you are a Patreon member, make sure you get added to the Facebook group. If you're not in the Facebook group, you're missing out on all the research team's trades, and like I said, lots of opportunity even with smaller accounts to make a lot of money and stuff. So, we'll take two more questions. I don't want to keep Natalie here all night. Slot 500 Club. Which is another person who's joined your dad in Vegas and gambling and stuff. Says, your daughter's a bright cookie. I know nothing about stocks. I'm going to have to sit down with her one day. So that was nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
500. Renslot says, Tesla always tries to get back to 700 on Fridays. That'll be interesting. We'll see what happens Friday. Hopefully all the stuff happens. Somebody says, when is CCIV merger closing? No dates announced. As far as I know, they're only in a letter of intent, and they're trying to do the pipe round. So this stock could crash if they don't get it done, or I don't think they're having a hard time getting the pipe done, but there is that risk out there. Renslash says, Kevin, you should be a proud dad. That was very nice of you.
Thank
Somebody
you.
said, I saw this one up here earlier. Do you think your dad can beat Raja at slots? So one is, we always play together. We actually always do pretty good. But yeah, we've never really had like a slot competition.
A slot off.
A slot off or something. Let's see. Your dad says, click father, Scott, it would be whoever got lucky that day. As you know, in slots, it's mostly luck, and Raja's luckier than me most of the days. I don't know. Your dad always is hitting those $40,000 big poker jackpots and stuff. So, everyone's saying Raja versus Click Father. I don't know. Well, we both have.
I'd like to see that.
We both have big birthday bashes, so we'll both be in Vegas for them coming up in June and July. Maybe we'll have a challenge during it or something. It'd be hard to say, but thank you again so much for joining us, and really appreciate you coming on. And hopefully everybody enjoyed it. If you guys want to have Natalie on, some more in the comments, let us know. Also, guys, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you click that subscribe button and click that gray bell. We're a live show. If you don't have the gray bell clicked, you're not going to know when we go live on YouTube. And if you're watching on Facebook, make sure you follow us and click the like button. If you don't click the like button, you don't get notified. So two-step process. But thank you so much for joining us. And
thank you.
Best of luck in the markets, and good luck to all our money makers. And everyone, say a prayer tonight that CCIV goes up 1 point tomorrow. We'll have a great day. CCIV goes. I can already tell you guys tomorrow's show. If CCIV goes up 50 cents, we are up 150 grand tomorrow. CCIV goes up $1, we're up 300 grand. CCIV goes down $1, we're down 300 grand. But no matter what, and if you guys are watching what I'm doing with CCIV and all my plays, just like I did with Apple. Even if we have to ride it out for a couple of weeks, no matter what, you're still going to pick up 50 cents, $1 in value every week that you extend it. So even though on paper you're losing money, as long as you don't have a drastic drop, if we have a drastic drop from, $23 to $15, it's going to take a lot longer to catch back up, and it will, look like $1 million loss. As long as that doesn't happen and it stays in this range, which it seems to be doing and seems to bounce off that 21, every week we're going to pick up 50 cents to $1. So if we have, if we don't get a bounce or clean up some of this, and we still had, let's say, 3,200 contracts of it live, and it comes down 50 cents, and we go out another week, it'll be another 150,000. I'll keep picking up 150, 250,000 a week until some point we catch up to whatever the strike price is of, 24, 25, dollars. But so that's how the strategy works, and 1 week we may just have a massive week. But we're still making money on the trades, hypothetically. It just takes a little bit longer sometimes with the option play. So just how that works. Bermuda, $2 super chat. Natalie, tea or coffee?
Both. Coffee in the morning, tea in the afternoon, or at night.
So, but hey, once again, thank you so much for being here, and thank you guys all for watching us. And hey, all my money makers out there, best of luck tomorrow. And like I said, let's all hope CCIV has a great day, and all your stocks have great days, and it'll be a great show. But
thank you so much.
Thank you again, and everyone else, take care. Thanks for watching, and I'll see everybody tomorrow night, 4:30 Mountain Standard Time. Take care and have a great rest of your day.